Kevin Ostreicher usually is with Locked On Ravens. Today, he's the GM for the top 5 teams, including the one that I cover. We're going to put him on the spot and see who he picks here on Locked On NFL.
The Barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yep, it is your team every day here on Locked On NFL. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins. Of course, my riding partner today to do this shotgun is Kevin Ostreicher, as he is always on Tuesdays. We got a pretty good show for you. I'm going to remind you, wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen, make sure you tap in to that location each and every day so you do not miss an episode of the show. We're coming in fast today, man. We ain't going to even play around with it. I'm going to tell you where we're going to end up. We're going to end up with the England Patriots and the Jaguars trying to figure out if they can make a splash. Cleveland is the wild card. To me, that's when the draft starts. And the reason I say that, and that's, it's figuratively speaking, is because I think I know who's going number 1, and that's where the Titans pick. I'm also going to get KO before we get started here. KO, we're not going to do trades, all right, just for the sake of these first 5 picks. I want to know what would KO do, right? KO stands for Kevin Ostreicher. And I hope I say your name correctly. It's Ostreicher, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nail on the head right there.
I'm just making sure I ain't screwing it up because I'm known to mess up some names now. But we're not going to trade. But if there was a trade, before we get to these picks, if there was a trade, what team would it be? Who would the player be targeting, and which team in the top 5 is most likely to jump out?
I think if a team was most likely to jump out, I would probably say New England. And to me, I think that's because not that all these top 5 teams are forced to, they need to pick in the top 5. But for the Patriots, I feel like they have the most leeway and they have the longest runway, I guess. Like they have the most stable future at the quarterback position, and that is including Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars, just because I think that for Drake May, you have your franchise guy, in my opinion. So if you want to trade back, get some future first round draft capital, and that can only be moving back 5-10 spots, and you could get a haul for that 4th pick. I don't think that, yes, there's a top talent that could be available there. Maybe it is a Travis Hunter, which we'll get into, but I still think that if you trade back to, let's say, 10 or 12 with Dallas per se, there's going to be a guy available that you like, fills the need, and you now arm yourself with future draft capital that could even turn into a top 15, top 10 pick as well, which you got to weigh in also.
I like it. I like where you're thinking. I'm tracking with you. Now, I don't believe while people say this draft isn't very good or it's not this, I think there are 8 or 9 players that would be in the top 8 or 9 and worthy of a top 8 or 9 spot in any draft, even a very, very strong draft, with the exception of maybe one of the quarterbacks like Shador or something like that. But who would they be targeting if Dallas was going to up jump the boogie and come up? What would be the player or the position that you think would make them really, really want to do it?
Well, I know the thing for Dallas is they're going to go get Ashton Genty. That's the guy. They want him. I don't think they'd trade up in the top 5. At least I don't think so, to go take
Right.
Ashton Genty. I think that I would go with the wild card. I think Travis Hunter is super intriguing, and I know that Abdul Carter right now is getting a lot of interesting storylines just because of the injury and how is he going to fall? Where is he going to fall? He obviously believes he's the number 1 overall pick, and I mean, look, he's extremely talented, so for good reason. But I think if a team really truly has a plan for Travis Hunter, because this is a guy that you just can't draft and say, okay, go play football. There has to be a plan for Travis, whether that is at corner, which I think is where he's going to end up in general, but whether it is even a wide receiver, Travis is that lightning in a bottle, unique player that really doesn't come available ever. And so I think that if a team sees the value in Travis, obviously he's a heck of a football player as well, and they can plug and play him at corner. It's a need for a lot of teams in this draft. I could see, and plus, I mean, I know Deion didn't go to Dallas, but if he wanted one of his guys to be at Dallas,
Yeah.
hey, I think the bright spotlight of Dallas and Travis Hunter could go well together because he is one heck of a talent.
All right, let's get to it. I'm going to play first my man at Locked On Titans and, of course, the AM show on Locked On NFL host, the madman Tyler Rowland. Tennessee has the first pick. Remember, no trades. I'm going to play a video from him and from everybody in the top 5 except me because, well, I'm here with you. So I'll do my narrating at the 5th pick later on. Here's Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans and Locked On NFL.
The Tennessee Titans have a new quarterback, and I think that tells us who their real quarterback is going to be. So the Tennessee Titans have signed free agent quarterback Brandon Allen. Brandon Allen is about to turn 33 years old this season. He's only started 10 games in his career. He's 2-8. He's only played in 18 career games and 6 seasons in the NFL. What does that all mean? It means that Brandon Allen is a backup. This isn't a situation where you could say, oh, it's going to be Will Levis and competing for the job. That's not what's going on here. You can't argue that Brandon Allen is competing for a starting job in the NFL. That's not what's going on. Brandon Allen is the backup. And the backup to who? I'm sorry, Will Levis is not going to be the starting quarterback in 2025, which means to me, Cam Ward will be the pick at number 1 overall. I know a lot of you guys are cheering, saying it should have always been. It has always been. Well, whether you like it or don't like it, today feels like confirmation that Cam Ward will be a Tennessee Titan.
I like it. What do you say there, GM Ostreicher? How's it going?
Well, hey, Brandon Allen means they don't need a quarterback anymore. They can go take Abdul Carter now. No, I agree 100% with Tyler. The pick here has to be Cam Ward. They went and didn't bite on guys like Sam Darnold. They didn't go the vet quarterback option when I think a lot of people thought that they could do that and, take a guy like Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter at 1. But even though I know that this isn't the strongest quarterback class we've ever seen, obviously you got the 2 guys at the top and then the rest will fill out as they may. I think that Cam Ward has to be the pick here. And I think that he does have franchise-changing potential. I know the jury is kind of still out on whether he can be that guy, if he will reach that potential. But I think that that's a worthy risk for the Titans to take. They could trade back. We're not doing trades, though. They could trade back. But I think that if they keep the pick, which I think that they will, and they take a quarterback, which I think that they will, I think Cam Ward is their guy.
Yep, I like him. I like him a lot. I'm a Florida State supporter, big Florida State fan, so I watch a lot of their enemies, right? Their ops, as the young players or the young people call it. And I watched a lot of Cam Ward. He can fall in love with being lackadaisical. I wouldn't necessarily too cool, right? He can fall in love with maybe doing some things and maybe looking like he's playing in the backyard a little bit. I think if they temper that, he'll be fine. But it reminds me a little bit of Joe Burrow with the way that he plays. And guess who was Joe Burrow's offensive coordinator forever, right? When he first came into the league, BC, Brian Callahan. So I do sense that he is gaining a lot of steam as a leader to be the pick for the Tennessee Titans. We got more picks to make. I'm going to let you go ahead and start thinking about Cleveland and the mess that the team in Northern Ohio has created for themselves with the quarterback that they already have that they're paying a boatload of money, Deshaun Watson. We'll get to that pick and more here on the top 5 mock draft with General Manager Kevin Ostreicher here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. I got to give John Calipari credit, man. He moved on over to Arkansas, and he's back in a very, very familiar place in his first year with the Razorbacks. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. That's FanDuel.com. You'll get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, we're moving along here with the mock draft with General Manager Kevin Ostreicher. He is the general manager of the 5 teams that are picking in the top 5. He probably would have got fired if he's the general manager of all 5 of those teams because they were terrible. That's why they're picking in the top 5. However, it's not his fault that they're splitting him up between 5 cities. Kevin, you need some help. I'll help you do it. But now you got to deal with the Cleveland Browns. and their mess. First, I want to listen to my man from Locked On Browns, Mr. Jermaine Spencer, is going to tell you right now what he thinks about what the Browns may have going on in cooking.
I'm at a point right now, and I said it last week, I'm comfortable with either. I'm good with Cam Ward because I think he's the best in the class, obviously. I'm good with Shador Sanders, and this isn't just like me talking myself into him. Going back and watching the tape, like, I think he can be successful in the NFL, and everyone keeps comparing him to Bo Nix. Here's the other problem I have. Everyone keeps comparing him to Bo Nix, and they keep saying, like, if he's Bo Nix, and so nobody really has this first round of evaluation on him. Bo Nix still went in the first round, though. That's my problem. Like, he still went in the first round. Yes, it was in the teens, and so maybe that makes more sense, but you always overdraft quarterbacks. So even if you thought Bo Nix was a second-round pick, he still went in the first round, and guess what? He turned out okay. He took the Broncos to the playoffs last year, and so that's why I'm okay with either, as I've explained already. I'm good with Cam Ward. I'm good with Shador Sanders. I think his skill set works in Stefanski's offense. I think his skill set will work in the NFL, even though, yes, he lacks maybe the arm strength that everyone's bringing up. And so for me, yes, if they take Shador Sanders to 2, I get it. If they take Cam Ward, I obviously get it even more. He's the best in the class. If they take, but I also don't blame fans who are a little weary of one of these quarterbacks, so they've done their own evaluation or read enough from the experts and feel like they're just not worth it. And so I take Abdul Carter. If that's how you feel, I respect it. I get it. I understand where there's some, this isn't the best quarterback class. This isn't last year's quarterback class, certainly. And so if you're worried about them getting it wrong or you're worried about it not panning out, yes, with the number 2 pick, you want to get a premier player and you want to get somebody who's going to change your franchise. I think either of these quarterbacks could do that, but I understand where, like, Abdul Carter also makes a lot of sense and could do that. So if you're weary of the quarterbacks, fine. I can live with Abdul Carter if that's what the pick's going to be. But my larger point on all of this is just that, like, nobody has any clue where the Browns are going at this point.
Nobody has any clue. I tell people that all the time. And if you do have a clue, you need to fire whoever is running your program over there, because we are not supposed to know anything. We always try to know everything, but we're not actually supposed to know. In fact, a lot of teams always say nobody knows who the pick is except one person, and he's going to tell the owner on the morning of the draft. I don't know if I believe that, but I've heard that several times. If you were Cleveland's GM, no, not if, you are Cleveland's GM. First of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, single malt runs about $50. Just go on down to the liquor store and help yourself. And what would you do if you're sitting there at number 2 and Cam Ward is off the board?
Man, I must not have a lot of job security here. I was the GM of the Titans 5 minutes ago. Now I'm already going to Cleveland. I'm about to get fired here too. So look, the Browns traded for Kenny Pickett. That means they can take whoever they want. Kenny Pickett, no, I'm kidding. Kenny Pickett, that's not their answer. But I think that I'm in the camp where Spencer, essentially, do you want a quarterback? What is your panic meter, essentially, if you're a Browns fan of the Browns with your quarterback situation? If you are like, we need a quarterback right now, then Shador Sanders is your pick. I'm going Abdul Carter, though. If I'm the Browns, I'm going Abdul Carter. I think that he is such a talented player. You put him next to Myles Garrett or opposite of Myles Garrett, that becomes, and as a Ravens guy, I hate to say it, becomes the best edge rusher tandem in the entire NFL, in my opinion. And that is not just a one-year thing. Myles Garrett is in Cleveland for the long haul now. We know that. Abdul Carter will have at least 5 years in Cleveland. And then I think that, yes, my whole thought process is Cleveland is not going to compete this season. That's my thing. I feel like if you're not comfortable with the quarterbacks, whether that be Cam Ward or Shador Sanders, I think that you can bypass this class, at least in the first round, because I know that the jury's out on both these guys, where some people believe that they are top 2 talents. Other people believe that they are more mid-first round talents and that it's not worth it to spend a high-level draft pick on them. So it's not that I don't like Shador Sanders. I do. I think he's a really talented player. But I just think that the thought process, if I'm Cleveland, of pairing Myles Garrett with Abdul Carter and having that position just set for at least the next 5 seasons, you're not going to compete next year. You can come back to the drawing board. And whether, you have Russell Wilson as a bridge quarterback this season, or, you go out there and bring old friend Joe Flacco back, although he's a Raven, don't get that twisted. I still think that Abdul Carter would be my pick.
I like it. And you actually sold me on it. The second you said it, I thought about him and Myles Garrett. And I thought about how many times they're going to get teams off the field on third down. And they probably could use the rest of this draft to make sure that they fortify their offense to the point where they become a running, smash mouth, play action team that throws the ball 24, 25 times a game and allows their defense to help them out. So I really, really do like the pick. I did not have him there. I had it at Shador. However, with the way that you explained it, you made me a believer, Kevin Ostreicher, and very few people can change my mind when I'm.
That's why I'm the GM. That's why
you're the GM, and I'm sitting here on the other side of the microphone. All right, let's go to pick number 3, my homegirl. And anybody that knows me knows if there's one thing that's true, I'll cut you over Patricia Traina. I don't play about my sister. That's my girl, man. And they're sitting at number 3. Poor Giants, man. They got to figure out how to do something right. And I still just sitting there thinking about Saquon Barkley jumping backwards over people, running around, being the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles got to the next level and went to Super Bowl. And I'm just looking at Joe Shane like, you better do something. Listen to Patricia Traina.
The New York Giants' search for a veteran bridge quarterback is finally over. As the Giants and Jameis Winston have agreed to terms on what is being reported as a 2-year deal worth $8 million. That, with incentives, can go as high as $16 million. Winston met with the Giants last week but left without a contract, as it was thought at the time that the team would be willing to wait out Aaron Rodgers. But with reports of Rodgers having gone to visit the Steelers, and with a separate report by the NFL Network that the Steelers and Rodgers already have the parameters of a contract in place, the Giants, who also hosted a visit last week with Russell Wilson, decided to move on in their search and get Winston into the fold. Now, Winston apparently checks the boxes for the Giants, who are still expected to draft a quarterback in April's draft, whether it's in the first round or on day 2. The guy that they pick, of course, being one that Winston will mentor.
Shador don't need no mentor, man. What are you talking about? He has a mentor and a dad and a coach and a life coach and a preacher, a certified mentor. He ain't gonna use Jameis Winston as some sort of mentor, but it makes a lot of sense what she said. I'm a little bit perplexed when it comes to them with this pick, because I do think they're going to take a person from Colorado. But you remember, they allowed Odell to leave the building when he still had a lot left. They allowed Saquon Barkley. I think the Giants are a team that needs to score a lot of touchdowns. It would help if they get a quarterback. Sounds like to me, though, Jameis is at least going to play that first year. What would you do? What you going to do, GM?
Oh, this one is tough because, again, if we were doing trades, it'd be a lot tougher because then I could get into all these crazy scenarios. But since we're not doing trades, I'm going to go with Shador Sanders. I'm going to go with Shador Sanders. And the reason why, at least one of them, one, he's a very talented quarterback, and I think that he can help the Giants return to relevance. But 2, I think there is pressure on the Giants to get a polarizing player back to New York. You let Saquon Barkley walk out the door. That was your franchise guy. That was your polarizing guy. I think that, and again, Deion Sanders made it very clear where they are hoping to go, and that is New York. So that might have some weight to it as well. But I think that with the reports that the Giants are also going to still look into guys like Russell Wilson. Jameis is not the be-all, end-all of the quarterback position. Jameis is the perfect bridge quarterback if you want to take that route. If you want to go Travis Hunter, I don't blame you one bit because I was very close to just flipping it and saying, you know what? I want to go with Travis Hunter here. It's that close for me. But I think that a guy like Shador Sanders can come in with Malik Neighbors and be a 1-2 punch for the foreseeable future there. They have to continue to build up their offensive line, obviously get a running back in there because you don't have Saquon Barkley anymore. But I think that the quarterback position for New York is one that does still have to be addressed despite Jameis coming in. And if it is Travis Hunter and he gets a 4, then there's New England that's going to trade out and the teams are going to pay him a boatload to go up there and get him.
This is a tricky one for me too. I think it's going to be Shador. I can't get the image of him and Malik Neighbors hanging out and then Shador taking a pair of cleats with the Giants stuff on them and them being really, really friendly. Off the field, between him and Travis Hunter, they both obviously been trained with how to deal with the media. I think Shador has handled that a little bit better. Travis had to deactivate a page over people bothering him about his girlfriend and all of this stuff. That's going to happen in New York a lot, man. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I think Shador is big enough to handle it, but not. He's not. New York is a city that he'll never be bigger than that city. So there's a little bit of thought that if Shador goes to a smaller market, at some point he probably want to get out of there. And with the way his personality is, don't put that in gold now, because that did not come from him, his camp, his father. That's just a gut feeling I have that some people may think about when we talk about Shador Sanders. All right, we got two more in the top 5. One is the Jaguars. We'll talk through that after we talk about the Patriots, the Pats, who have gone back to their old ways and hired one of Bill Belichick's disciples in Coach Vrabel, Mike Vrabel. We'll discuss that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. All right, pick 6. Here we go. This clip is not of my boy Mike debate up with the Patriots, but it is of Peacock and Williamson podcast. They talked about the way that this team is currently structured, what they have, and what they might be looking for in this draft. Here's Peacock and Williamson talking about the New England Patriots.
So, Matt, let's talk New England Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephon Diggs visiting the Patriots. They clearly need a wide receiver. They clearly need a offensive line, but probably multiple. But you know that ever elusive long-term left tackle would be nice for the New England Patriots as well. Mark's question is: any idea what the New England Patriots are doing? They still have oodles of cash and 0 players around Drake May. Are they going down the Trevor Lawrence path like the Jaguars did?
I think it's more measured than that. And I think that the defense, not to the Texans level, but got pretty darn good in the last couple of weeks. And especially if like a Barmore can come back from his issue and Gonzalez can stay healthy. You got 2 outside corners. Not that Spillane's great, but he's going to quarterback the whole thing. Belichick did leave some defensive pieces intact. You know, I mean, some of their Kyle Duggars and those type of dudes are pretty good players. I love the Williams signing, even though I think it's an overpay, but they have to overpay and they have too much money to even spend. So this one's going to be a slow burn for me. This is a tortoise rebuild. I mean, and I'm fine with that.
Now, hearing that, knowing it's Mike Vrabel, I'm going to tell you something that Julian Council said yesterday on yesterday's show. And I don't think he said it on the show. In fact, he said it off the air. He told me he was in Tennessee when Vrabel was there. It's not a wide receiver. He doesn't think Vrabel's going to take a wide receiver early. That's what he said. Travis Hunter's a little bit different, though. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it is Travis Hunter here. I think, you put him at cornerback if you're New England. I think you pair him with Christian Gonzalez, which would make one of the best young cornerback duos in the entire NFL.
Now, remember, they did sign a kid from Detroit. They gave him $20 million. What's his face? He used to play with
Carlton Davis.
They did sign Carlton Davis, but most teams 70% of the time line up with three corners. So
yeah, you can never have enough of them anyway. And I hear you most definitely, but I think that for me, the allure of Travis Hunter is obviously not only his versatility, which again, you could use him at wide receiver if you wanted to. I still think corner is going to be the way he goes in the league, but you look at Carlton Davis, he's not necessarily a super long-term solution. The contract is big, no doubt, and they're going to play him. But that 3 cornerback rotation of Gonzalez, Davis, and Travis Hunter, man, I'm telling you, that's a big start on that defense. And I agree. It's not going to be like the Patriots are competing for a Super Bowl next season. They could maybe surprise some people and win more games than people think. But I don't know if we're going the Commanders route for the Patriots after just one season here. So I think Travis Hunter makes the most sense. But I do think, again, if we were doing trades, New England makes the most sense if they wanted to trade out and get some more draft picks.
I like it. I like the reasoning for it. And I understand that sometimes, and you notice what you've done here with New England and with Cleveland, you've taken maybe the best part of their team and made it better. Like instead of just kind of spreading it around a little bit, you said, no, we're going to send that unit over the top. And we're going to lead with that. We're going to dare people to try to sit there and throw the ball. The thing about Hunter is this. By playing both ways tirelessly, the way he did, it tells me 2 things. He loves it, And that's one thing that coaches always want in a player, no matter how talented you are. Do you love it? When I say love it, I'm not talking about the games. I think he loves practice. I think he has a very, very high IQ. I think he's a real good young man too, man. So don't forget that'd be a good plus for them. And then, yeah, he can go play some offense for Drake May, because if you're only using him as a slot corner, there may be times during the game where you can give him a little bit of a break. Right? You can give him a little bit of a break, and then on offense, use him on offense, let him return punts. And I kind of put Travis Hunter in the class of Reggie Bush. And let me explain that. I know Bush was not a defensive player, but he was a guy on offense everybody wanted to use in multiple ways, right? I'm hoping that what happens is he's not spread out so thin that he's not great at one thing or doesn't get acknowledged for being great at that one thing. And he has a Reggie Bush career, which wasn't a bust, but it also wasn't what we thought Reggie Bush was going to actually be in the National Football. I thought Reggie Bush was going to be LaDainian Tomlinson. But because they moved him around a lot and he was like this little Swiss Army knife, he never was really one thing. And I think that's going to bother me a little bit about Travis. Now, last but not least, let's get to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I have no clue what they're going to do because, one, I don't know about this staff with James Gladstone, Tony Baselli, Liam Cohen. They needed to fix the offensive line. They signed 4 guys to do that. Some of those guys are reserves in free agency. How much do they like the guys on the roster? KO, I really don't know, and that's a good thing because I'm not supposed to know because of operations security. It's coming down to this. It's either Mason Graham, even though he's not a nose tackle, and you wouldn't take a nose right there anyway, but they have other guys at 3 technique, Mason Smith and Eric Armstead, who's making a lot of money. They can come up with some weird fronts and use have guys 2 gap instead of having that guy over the nose tackle. So it's like Mason Graham. Some people were talking about Ted McMillan, but that kind of died down a little bit. The wild card is this. Is it Armand Mimbo, and do they just go, you know what, we're going to let Anton Harrison compete at left tackle with Walker Little? That's where he played mostly in college. And we're going to take Mimbo and make him our right tackle. And they're going to finish doing with the offensive line what they already started. But who you got? You're the GM, not me.
Yeah, man, this might be a hot take, but I think this is where the draft starts, honestly.
There it is.
I think that, top 4, and there are maybe Mimbo sneaks into the top 4, because a team like the Patriots could just say, hey, we want an offensive lineman, and that'll be that. But I think that with Ward, Sanders, Carter, and Hunter, that's my top 4 pretty cleanly. At least that's based off my expectation. But for Jacksonville, I've been flip-flopping between Mason Graham and Mimbo personally. I mean, I'm going to go with Mason Graham.
There you go.
I feel like the weird fronts works. I think that some people how are you going to fit all these guys in? You already have so much talent. I don't know if I'm just biased because it's the way the Ravens have done things for so many years, and I'm just kind of numb to it. And this is how I have watched a team build a franchise. But the Ravens go best player available almost every single draft, and they don't care how many guys they have at that position. If talent is there, you take the talent and you figure the rest out later. You could say the same thing with Mimbo, where it's all right, you signed a lot of offensive linemen. You mentioned, some of them aren't going to start for him, but it's okay, if he's the guy on your board, you take that guy and you figure out where everybody else is going to play. So to me, I think that for a team like Baltimore that has had a lot of success doing that, for example, with Kyle Hamilton, they had both their starting safeties, and a guy like Kyle Hamilton falls to him, they say, okay, well, we're just going to make it work now because this is a guy that can change our franchise. So for Mason Graham, I think you can plug him in. He's super disruptive. I think him and Armstead and, all the other guys they have on that D-line. I know there are some questions about Trayvon Walker's fit long-term in Jacksonville, whether he'll be there or not. But
he fits. He don't fit.
I still think that Mason Graham to me is the pick because you take talent, you figure out the rest later.
Sounds good to me, man. And that's the way it's been going. By the way, I ain't going to just let you get away with those sirens. Those sirens were not here. They were up there in Baltimore.
I know. I'm right by a highway. I cannot control.
They filming the wire reboot up there. What are they doing up there in Baltimore? You got sirens, man. The SWAT team ain't coming to get you, naughty. All right, man. I'm just joking. Hey, man, make sure y'all tap in. If you want to learn more about these prospects or you just want to become smarter, listen to Locked On NFL Draft with Coach Keith Sanchez and my man Damian Parsons. There's nobody that does this in the business better than those two. Make sure you make Locked On, whatever team you support, your first listen. Locked On NFL, your second listen. And Locked On NFL Draft, your third listen each and every day. For my man, Kevin Ostreicher, I'm Tony Wiggins. Thank y'all for joining us today. We'll see you next time here on Locked On NFL.